The cohort application is done through a program called Slideroom. If you've applied for a residency or academia, anything like that, sometimes other exhibitions, you've probably used it in some capacity. It's a pretty straightforward program. If you've used it before, oftentimes it'll save the things you put in. So if you feel like you've lost a document, you might be able to find it in here, which is really useful. Slideroom charges a fee of $10. If this is cost prohibitive to you, please reach out to us. We're happy to help and try to accommodate you any way we can. But also remember that the application closes on November 15th, which is in almost exactly 2 weeks. Some of these questions are a little bit more long form. They require a more thought out, pre-planned answer. They're not just clicking boxes. So I recommend that if you are hoping to apply, that you start that soon, because you don't want to be there the day before doing something and realize that it takes a lot more pre-planning. The other thing is, if you have any questions at all, you can email me. I believe my email is on here somewhere, but I'll also put it up on the wall in a minute. If you have any questions at all, please send them to me or Danielle. We're happy to answer them. And that's also another reason to start your application early, because if you start it the night before and you email me, I probably won't see it. So I'd like to be able to give you all enough time to get your questions in so I can help you accurately.
Is the application basically the same as last for cohort 4?
It's changed a little bit. So we're going to peek at it right now. But on this front screen, all we have is our typical information about what the cohort is, what it entails, and just some more small specifics, including the date that it runs through. Also links you to the page with more info, and then we have the jurors as well. The application is in 3 parts. One is a personal identification form, and then we have a submission portal for your forms and questions that it asks you, and then there's a portfolio section to it. The personal identification form is not impacted by the jurors at all. These are just metrics so that we have an accurate idea of who is coming into the program, who from Dallas is applying to the program, and then also, if you are accepted into the program, are there things that we need to know in order to better assist you and make sure that your time here goes as smooth as possible. Most of these questions are pretty generic and typical metric questions, like your gender identity, race, ethnicity, do you identify as a queer artist, your age, do you identify as a disabled artist, household annual income, is there anything else you'd like to hear or let us know that can better assist you, and then how did you hear about this opportunity? So pretty straightforward. Next is the thing that's a little bit more meaty. These are the things that you should either have on hand already or they're going to take a little bit more time. So this is why I was mentioning that we should start a little bit earlier on our applications. The first thing is it needs your CV, which, as you probably know, is your artist resume. This is going to be a log of your accomplishments as an artist. You should probably keep them, as Amani, you were asking, centric to your practice as possible. So if you have worked at, say, a grocery store, you worked at like a logistics firm or something, those things might not be as useful on here. What it's looking for is mostly your exhibition record, if you've done residencies, if you've done commissions, your education background, things like that, everything that is related to your artwork. If you have questions about that, again, you can email me and ask. We also ask for an online resource of your work. This is not a required question. Any question that is required has a little asterisk next to it. But I realize that a lot of people don't necessarily have websites nowadays, so if you have an Instagram only, you can submit that as well for the jury to look at. Next is the bio and artist statement. These are short. It's a 6,000 character cap, so if you want to split it 3,000 and 3,000 characters, this is just a place to tell us about yourself and then to tell us about your work. And if there's overlap, it's a really good place to kind of explain that as well. As you fill this out, if there's an issue with typing, reading, and writing, or some type of literacy barrier that you face, you can type any word in here, but video works as well. When you type that, or here, let me do this and it'll disappear. When you type a word into this blank and click off, it'll open a link for you to upload a YouTube video. So if you need to record yourself, audio, or have a video of yourself, you can submit that here and the jurors will be able to access it if you feel like writing is not your strongest suit and you need that extra bit of accessibility. All of the questions that require long form answers, which is almost all of these, have that capability in it. So no matter what, you are able to submit a different type of response. Next is a letter of intent. This is kind of just us being curious about what you hope to do here, what you hope to achieve, how you may benefit the community, how the community will impact your art. We want to know why you want to be here, and the jurors specifically want to know why you want to be here. So that's going to be a longer form document, and then this one following it is somewhat similar, but it's asking how you intend to be involved with the program. So we have committees that we put together that are curatorial or critique-based. We have programs and opportunities to be involved in those programs. It's asking where you hope to be most active when here, whether that's participating in something like critique, being on one of those committees, trying to exhibit, just being present, offering your skills, resources as an artist. This is a place where you want to talk most about that. Next question is mostly about your lived experience as an artist. This is a place for you to talk about how Dallas is a super diverse place. We want to accurately reflect that. So this is a place to talk about that, your experiences in diversity and how that may impact or be a benefit to the program and the people around you. And the last question, I kind of answered this for a few of you in the back, but next you'll answer what studio size you want. The prices are listed here, so you should know upfront how much that'll cost. So if the cost is what is really impacting your choice on studio, you'll have that upfront here so that you can plan for that. So we have all 4 of the different types. You'll select your priority. So if you just need an 8x8, that's fine. Then you can just select 2 8x8s. But if your first choice is an 8x16, and that's your primary choice, but say that doesn't work out, you're okay with an 8x8, you can select an 8x8 as your secondary one. So make sure that you select 2 of them so that as we build the back of the program up, we know how to reformat that room because it plays a big part in how we put that room together when the new cohort comes in. Most important question is, do you have a studio outside your own home? I know a lot of people may have a studio right now and they plan to transition another cohort and release that studio, but what we're looking for are people that are going to use the opportunity to the most, be present, be active in the community, and use the resource for what it is rather than barring someone who may be able to make better use out of it from having access to the space. So this is a really important question, and if you feel like you have extenuating circumstances, this is the place to answer it. And I can't say how the jury will pick on this question, but something to keep in mind is if you do feel like you will have a space, but you really believe that you will be active, put that in your letter of intent to let them know that you plan to be incredibly active in the community. Next part of the form is just the portfolio. You can submit 5 to 10 images. These can be 5 to 10 works. You can also submit, say, 5 works with 5 detail shots. It's really open-ended. I just suggest that you submit your best work. Make sure that your documentation is accurate to the work that you want to show people and we can tell what it is. It's going to ask for a few pieces of information. One of them is, I think it asks for the title. It's going to ask for the medium, which is really helpful to show that if you work in strange materials, it's a good place to let us know that. It's going to ask for the year, equally important because if somebody were to submit 10 pieces from 2012, it doesn't show us that they're as engaged and active as may be beneficial to the community. So you want to make sure you include that information. And I think there's also a space for further information. So if you feel like there's something we should know about it conceptually or process-based, it's a good place to share that as well. Say you were doing a mural, it might be a good place to include where that mural was created and if it was in partnership with something.
Then, is that where we can say how a photo relates to what we're wanting to do?
So say you were putting up sketches for things you wanted to make during the residency. Yeah, I think that would be a good place to explain that. I think if you are going to do that, you should have a good mix of finished works as well so that we have something to go off of. But yeah, if you do have things that are a little bit more in progress, that would be a place to explain what that piece is, what's happening, and how you intend to work on it when you are in the space. Yes?
What are the different forms of media that you can submit?
What was that?
What are the different forms of media you can submit?
The format, yes, you can submit film, audio works as well. You can also put in YouTube links, I think. But yes, you can submit your work in a ton of different ways that accurately portray what you were working in. Because we have artists who are performance artists or video artists. It's not just JPEGs, so yes. And if you do end up applying and you find that there is a weird format or something that you need to submit in and it's not letting you, just reach out to one of us and we'll try to mend that. Thank you. Any more questions on this? I'm happy to answer anything.
Any questions in general?
Is there a spell check on it?
Spell check?
It's just built into the browser.
Yeah, let's see. See, it's not even letting me. Okay. Is that the word name? It doesn't look like it right now, but if you browse it.
Maybe copy paste it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So,
You were saying that like an online portfolio, like a website or Instagram, will also be considered on top of the portfolio that you submit as well?
yeah, I think they. Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, to cut you off. Are they like equally weighted in that way?
So I wouldn't say that they were necessarily equally weighted. I think the images you submit to Submittable specifically kind of present your work in a sterile environment where your website gives the jurors, let me reiterate, the staff has no sway on who gets in or not. It's just the jurors. But the jurors would be able to look at your website and kind of get more of a feel of like who you are as an artist, not necessarily just your artwork, but like how you present yourself.
If I've said us at any point in terms of determining it, that's just me speaking casually. The jurors will be the only people making a decision on this, so keep that in mind. We have very little say in this.
And so earlier I'd asked you about if you're doing a collage of images, how many?
Okay, yeah, so they were asking me, can you make say 4 images in one? I would say that only if those are, say, like different shots of a single piece, like different facets of, like, say, a ceramic piece. I would not submit 4 pieces just compiled to kind of beat that 10 image maximum, because you cannot submit less than 5 and you cannot submit more than 10. So I would try to stay in those parameters and not try to get more than 10 images in by making the collage.
So if it relates to, if there's 3 or 4 images that show different facets of what I want to try to do in one of my paintings,
Mm-hmm.
and can I put those 4 images and just because they all relate to one particular painting, but I'm trying to kind of give examples, like what I want to do and how kind of like my tests and different ideas.
Yeah, I mean, if that is how, like, if you feel strongly about that, I would go ahead and do that, but explain that, like, these are not 4 separate works in one, these are all process shots that should lead to a singular piece.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and most of you probably know when you're documenting your work, sometimes detail shots are not needed, so it is probably good to have a good mix of things where it is just the piece, as opposed to, like, overloading that image. Was the hand over there? Behind Maria? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious, do the jurors look at the studio space preference when they're deciding, or is that just for you guys?
No, they can see it, but that is just for us. That has no impact on them, I do not think.
Any other questions?
First of all, I didn't know. I have 1 about the process and 2 about the facilities. So, as you two know, I work at some colleges. So would that be considered like my studio? It's not mine per se.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure before I didn't want to lie.
It definitely, like, if you're working and making ceramics or making glass at like a different facility, but you don't have like a dedicated studio space, that's kind of what the cohort is aiming for, to like provide this dedicated studio space that is just yours, in this community of your fellow cohorts. So I would say it's very different, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, cool, thank you. I just want to make sure I didn't lie. But, well, you know.
That's fair.
And second, I know, Taylor, you mentioned that you guys did have a ceramic film, but do you have like other
Not at the moment. We're pretty limited. There are resources in the DFW area that we're happy to try to reach out to and connect you with, but at the moment our facilities are pretty limited. We're working on it. Obviously, all of our facilities are slowly being built up, but
Yeah, did you talk about the Bodecker at all?
no, I did not talk about the Bodecker. I plan to at the end,
Oh,
but
sorry.
so we can probably peek over there. It's going to be dark, but the Bodecker is a building next door. Alec mentioned it. It is a 43,000 square foot building. It used to be the Bodecker ice cream plant. To put that in context, we're currently at 7,000 square feet in the building we're in now. The Bodecker is the future home of the CU, and it will have further facilities, larger printmaking facilities, more fully fleshed out ceramics facilities, larger wood shop, a gallery, public accessible studio spaces. It's pretty incredible. As y'all, after this, when y'all are kind of meandering and talking to each other, we have the plans over here so we can kind of explain them to you. But it's an amazing project. Right now we're limited by the space we currently have. So we have some limited facilities and we're always willing to look into more. But as of right now, I think the kiln is kind of all we have.
Well, I've been talking about this.
We have been talking about it for a long
You
time,
know how
but
things go with the city of Dallas.
in COVID, yeah. Just pulling this up really quick and we can get back to questions, but this is what it looks like when you submit a piece. Your image will be here. There's a limitation on the size of the file, I think, and then the additional details down here is where you would put that supplementary information if you have it, but there's a 1,000 word limit or character limit probably. Yeah, character. So keep that in mind.
And you said the bio and the letter of interest is a combined 6,000 characters?
The bio and the artist statement are the letter of interest or intent is separate.
So with the artist bio / statement being 6,000 characters, are those like two separate things? Like the artist bio and then the artist statement? Like,
Yeah, you can. Sometimes they overlap, and they're pretty like intertwined. But you can break those into just two smaller paragraphs each.
Like conceptually, your artist bio is just about like your biographical information, like where you're from, where you went to school, if you went to school, and your statement is more about like your practice. Yeah.
So it would be like the difference is like who I am as an artist, what I do as an artist, and two different pieces of text. So, but yeah, if with the bio, try to put things that are a little bit more specific to your practice. So if you work in like the arts field somewhere, that might be a place to mention that. Or if you're affiliated with a club or where you got your degree, you would mention that there.
And 6,000 characters doesn't sound like a lot. That's like a page and a half. So it's a
Yeah, it's a lot.
space.
I pre-filled this out on my own just to see what the limitations were, and I think I was able to get my unedited bio and artist statement in there no problem. And those are both 2 paragraphs, I think, on their own. So there's a lot of wiggle room.
yeah, I thought 6,000 characters was a lot. That's why.
You do not have to
Don't
meet that.
have to fill
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just the limit.
Cool.
So,
Awesome.
yeah. As you work on them, please let us know if you have any questions at all. We are happy to answer them. Our contact info is right here. If you need to take a photo of that, please check us out on Instagram. We'll be uploading reminders. If you started your application on Slideroom, Slideroom will also email you reminders to tell you, hey, this many days are coming up, but make sure that you get started on it as soon as possible because you don't want to run out of time working on it. Cool.
And the link to what you said, is that on, where can I find that?
Yeah, so the link to access it, if you go to cedarsunion.org and go over to Artist Opportunities, Cohort 5, it's also right here, right at the front. So apply now, that'll take you right to the Slideroom application. It also has further information on our curricula, resources, facilities, everything we've talked about tonight, but if you need a refresher, please check it out. And then the link is at the top and the bottom.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, the new cohort will move in at the end of February next year. Is there any kind of date or time when we can expect to hear back on our application?
Yes, I think that is,
January 10th.
yes,
Hell yeah, Amani,
Right.
A plus.
Timeline is here.
yeah. So
On
accept
the website that Matt made.
Yeah, so acceptances will start going out around January 10th, so keep an eye on your inbox. I think sometimes people apply and they realize they can no longer take part in the program, so be patient. If you don't see it right away, don't lose hope or discourage yourself until there is like a hard decision sent out to you, because sometimes we are working through the process of following up with people and going down the ladder of people who have applied.
When, I guess roughly, would the hard acceptance be? Do you know, or?
So
No.
generally we do a lot of Tetrising based on the studio sizes that you select, and then it's basically like a ranked choice system. So your scores will get averaged across the 5 jurists, and then we start with the top score and move down based on their studio requests. That's basically just the fairest way that we have of doing it. And so, yeah, acceptance letters in general go out in order, and we're kind of doing this behind the scenes Tetris thing to figure out what studios people can fit into and what ones we have left. And so, generally once the letters go out, we've already kind of done a lot of that. So once you get a letter or you're told that you didn't get in, and then you'll have time to think if you want to accept it. Because some people, even once they get in, they have other opportunities, they have another residency, or they decide to go back to school, or they move away, or whatever. And so then there will still be a little bit of time where we might have to move people around. And then your kind of like final contract will show up in your email. You will have already talked to us by that point. Do you want to talk about the interview stuff for Jay?
Yeah, sure. One of the new processes for cohort 5 is that we will be interviewing the jurors' top selection. And so we want to make sure that expectations are clear about like what you're getting into, the 18-month commitment, and also just to kind of hopefully like suss out any like personalities that might not like get along so well, because we want this to be a positive experience for everybody involved. So we're implementing a wonderful little chat where you're also interviewing us while we talk through the program.
Yeah, mostly just to make sure that your expectations are met and you understand what we have and what the Cedars Union is, because we don't want people to come in and try to hide from everyone else in the program. We want them to know that it is an active space with a lot of active voices and active opportunities to be engaged with one another.
Will the interviews be with the jury?
No, it'll just be with staff.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, it's literally just if somebody is like, why doesn't my studio have a door? It's like, we just don't do that, sorry, but.
Yeah, it's no pressure, it is just a conversation.
Yeah.
and would that be the time, like, if you say you want the 8x8, but put someone else there because you kind of think it fits better, like, would this be the time when you have that conversation, like, hey, if we do get in, would you be okay with having, like, the bigger space?
So, no. So the way that we rank, the jurors rank you all, and then we base studio space sizes based on that ranking. The top score is the person's definitely going to get their first pick. And as we work down like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till we get to like 14, those, depending on like how we configure the space, is how it kind of will shake itself out. But we don't have, staff doesn't necessarily have that conversation with artists unless it's absolutely necessary. We try to abide to your preferences.
So generally, it's really important for you to choose a size, one, that you're comfortable with, both from like an affordability level and the size that you think is going to work for you, and then choose your second choice. By and large, that's how we're going to place you in the studio. Most of the time, you're not going to have an opportunity to switch from there. So just make sure on the application you pay attention to that.
Again, we'll be here for a minute. Please help yourself to the remainder of the snacks. If you have any questions at all, I guess if those of you who are interested in the Bodecker, we can pop over there. It's just going to be a little dark, so if you're in the dark. Yeah, so we'll get our flashlights out. But otherwise, thank you all so much for coming. If you have any questions, please reach out to Danielle or me. We are happy to answer them. Yeah, thank you all.